Can I have your attention? These beaches are officially closing for today. That means absolutely no more swimming.
Seconds.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Michael Kachmar. Welcome to Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Kachmar. Today's date is, I believe, it's April the 19th, the year of our Lord, 2023 AD. You know what AD is, Tyler? AD.
After death?
After death.
No.
After
Derek.
After Derek. So anyway, let's say hello to everybody. We have Tyler.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
How's
Tyler.
everyone doing?
Tyler, and we have. Let me see if we get the right camera here.
Hey, everybody.
And here's our long shot. Here's our studio. Thank you for tuning in. This is Lifeguards Off Duty. We have a special guest today, but you want to just say hello to the guest first, or you want to go to your intro about your other thing, your dolphins?
Why always gotta put me on the spot like that?
Oh, see what I was saying? Anyway, well, I'll tell you what. I'll put myself on the spot.
We got a guest. Okay.
You don't have the marquee. You don't have your marquee here. You always forget. I mean, what kind of shit?
No, it's because you finagled with it somehow, and it's
I
not
didn't
up here anymore.
okay.
No, we just turn it off so we can do other stuff.
Yeah, we already turned. So anyway,
Well, it's
we're on.
gone.
Just so everybody know, if anybody wants to get a hold of us, it's drkachmar at iCloud.com. That's Dr. Kachmar, iCloud.com. We do have a webpage, Jersey Shore Foot and Leg Center. .com. We're on all the, we're on YouTube, Rumble, what do you call it? Facebook, and Spotify, and Apple Podcast. I think we're on Twitch and Twitter too. So get us, especially on YouTube. I appreciate if you guys.
We're all
subscribe.
over the internet, guys.
We're all over the place. So we're gonna start this as soon as we get our thing. Oh, don't worry about it.
Just keep going. I got it.
So we just want to talk about, before we get to our guests.
We've been talking about
the
dolphin and whales that have been washing up on New Jersey beaches throughout the course of the year. On April 15th and 16th, there were two dolphins, one in Great Bay near Little Egg Harbor and one in Avalon. We were looking up the numbers before. I think this is over the 30s now for the dolphins, which is more
28.
28.
Very unusual
Okay,
for this
close.
time of year.
Very unusual for in general.
And whales. How many whales have come up?
We're over 14 last time I checked, but
So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, keep
no,
going.
the average was about one a year, and now we're at 14 since January, and it's April now.
And what's some people saying? What's the allegations or the incriminating?
What do you think's happening, Kashmar?
I have no idea. All I know is they've been doing a lot of work out there to try to. I think they've been doing a lot of SODAR work because they want to put about 30,000 windmills out in the ocean, and so whatever they've been doing out there, I've seen the ships out there, and so whatever they're doing, there's the allegation that it's affecting them. It could be something else, but I've never seen so many this time of year. Never,
So
ever.
this news kind of just broke yesterday, but the one thing that really stood out to me when I was kind of flipping through the articles about it was the description from the necropsy of this particular dolphin that washed up on 71st Street in Avalon. The dolphin had no food in its gastrointestinal tract, and its lungs were pale and mottled. So Sean and I were chatting about that before the show, and we were thinking, why would the dolphin have no food in its stomach?
Well, maybe it was sick. Maybe it was sick.
Exactly. Maybe it was sick and not eating. What caused it to get sick?
Well,
right.
yeah.
That's the question.
The big thing, the other thing too, when they were talking about the whales, because the whales are really big, and obviously, and there was this allegation, we got hit by ships. Mm-hmm. Well, I've been fishing out there for years. There's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of ships going up and down, and they would have killed. Would have been knocking these whales off, for a long time.
Before this,
they're getting hit after they're dead. It's unusual, very unusual, and it definitely coincides with them doing sonar evaluation for where they're going to put the windmills. So I think, did they put a stop on the windmills?
not officially.
No.
But we don't know what they're doing. It's a private company.
Well, it's interesting. It's my wife told me the other day that she showed the pictures of them. It's getting alarming. It's really crazy. I wonder if how our summer is going to be. If these things will be coming up all over the place. That's going to be
which again is the more populated whale season.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know if they're doing anything. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. It's pretty interesting. So, all right. Well, I'll give you over
So
to.
yeah, that's our little lifeguard news for today. But Sean, do you want to introduce our guest that you've been in contact with?
We've got Derek Pivko on today. He used to lifeguard for Lake Mohawk. He was the waterfront director of Lake Mohawk Country Club in Sparta. Derek, do you want to introduce yourself?
You did a really good job with the intro. For those who missed out in the last few seconds, my name is Derek Pivko. I live in Sparta, New Jersey, as well as Mount Arlington. I've been a lifeguard since, I'm going to age myself real quickly, so I'm just going to pretend 21 years in June, and I've enjoyed every second of it. I started off as a lifeguard. Throughout the years, I progressed as a WSI water safety instructor, and then back in 2014 or 2015, I got an LGI lifeguard instructor, and I've loved every opportunity for it. I've met so many great people along the way, met some friends that have turned into practically family members. I've been to a lot of their weddings as well. And then in September, some of those friends are coming to my wedding because this guy's getting married.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Lucky man.
Can I see your engagement ring?
Yeah. No.
Ooh, whoops.
Actually, I just got married. I got married in September, second time, by the way. But these guys, so we had a rowboat. If you go look one of our lifeguard rowboats, and we had my wife rowed up to the dock. It was in a lake in Spring Lake. And so these guys were there. They rowed, both of them, and then we had 4 of the lifeguards catch her. I think it's on one of our episodes. We have.
It's definitely
it's pretty wild.
On an
It's pretty
episode
wild.
and on our Instagram page. We were actually talking about doing it for service, Derek, if you're interested.
Yeah, they could row your wife in if you have it on the lake or whatever. Well, congratulations.
Got to talk to the missus first. Thank you.
No. Well, listen, that was my wife's idea. I thought it was a bit. I'm like, oh, you don't know. Even to have it outside was a risk, but it came out really nice. A beautiful, beautiful day. But anyway, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So,
Derek, before when we were in contact, you said that Lake Mohawk was a special place to you working there. Do you want to just go into a little bit of detail about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just for the record, I'm technically an only child, and when I was little and couldn't be left by myself, we had this term called a babysitter. And one of our babysitters was the lifeguard at Lake Mohawk Country Club, and I really idolized this individual. Talked to her still to this day. Her birthday wasn't too long ago now, think about it. And I wanted to be more like her, so she said that she was a lifeguard. I said, hey, when I turn 15 or 16, I want to do what she did. And I ended up working with her for a little bit, and I climbed the ranks with her. She has a WSI, so I wanted to do that. So when you idolize somebody, that's pretty much what I ended up doing. I've been a lifeguard there since 2003. I was a supervisor there in 2009 to about 2011, then disappeared for a couple of years, and I came back in 2018.
What was special about her? Like you looked up to her.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just one of those like the nicest people you ever meet, and she was kind of like in the cool crowd. So whenever you like ran into her in town, you say, "Hey, Derek, how's it going?" And it was just cool if someone, because as I said before, I'm an only child, and it was just being able to talk to this person just as a mentor. She did very well in college. She went to a great college as well. So that you always want to have a good positive influence in your life. And if I had never met Chrissy, would I have been a lifeguard? Probably not. But at the same time, everyone comes into your life for a certain reason. And Chrissy was kind of like a guiding force to say, hey, when you get older, you want to follow her path.
Swimming wasn't something that you were into as a child, but I guess when you were being babysat by her or interacted with her, that that just grew on you?
Yeah, absolutely. I was on swim team for a grand total of 1 summer. I realized it wasn't my best. People were getting out of the water when I was pretty much halfway through the course. So it's like, all right, let's get this guy out of the water. Then everyone can celebrate. And then when I got older, I was swimming in Tucson, Arizona. I was joined the Tucson Racket Club just to get in shape. And then I realized I was kind of decent at it. And then what was that year? It was August of 2009. I was getting ready to go back to school for my final semester. And unfortunately, my financial aid in my major got discontinued at Arizona. So I was 6 classes shy of graduating. And that kind of like took a mental beating on my mind. And I needed a little stress debriefer. So one of my supervisors, who's going to be at my wedding as well, he talked to me about saying that his wife is a breast cancer survivor, and he's going to be swimming Lake Mohawk, which is 3.1 miles long, and it's the largest man-made lake in the state of New Jersey. And he wanted to raise money for the Susan G. Komen Foundation. And something in my mind clicked, saying, "I don't think you're going to be able to swim 3.1 miles, but can I join you and see how far I can do it?" And Rich finishes relatively quickly, and 3 days later, no. And then I finished up. I think I did in like 2 hours and 10 minutes with maybe 1 month of training. So when I commit to something, I'm all in. And for some reason, I said, "Hey, I can do more of this." Right after that, there was a Lake Apacon swim race the following weekend, and I just fall in love with competitive swimming. I was a basketball player at junior college. I missed the athletics and wanted to keep going.
I just gotta ask: Are you watching the playoffs right now with the NBA?
I cannot stand the NBA. I'm more of a NCAA guy. So
March Madness.
yes,
I'm
my
glued to
college
the
did not
TV
do
now.
well.
What team? What college?
I went to the University of Arizona, so the smart kids of Princeton beat us in the first round. But very next day, Purdue decided to lose to a team from New Jersey. So New Jersey teams do really well in the NCAA tournament. So next year, Rutgers, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, we show up.
Who won the tournament?
I don't pay attention to NCAA like that. Do you know, Derek?
I did, and it totally just went out of my mind.
Yeah, the Angel
Nothing
Reese.
I can't Google.
Yeah, the Angel.
Oh,
Reese,
UConn won it.
UConn won it. The Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark thing was way more. Was a bigger story. I was paying attention to that more.
Right.
I just want to let everyone know the 3.1 miles you swam is 92 laps in an Olympic pool, and like a standard gym pool that's 25 meters. It's 184 laps that you did nonstop. And that's an amazing accomplishment. Congratulations.
That is, yeah. The most I've ever done was 2 miles. I did a Tin Man down in Maryland.
Yeah,
somewhere.
you're a Tin Man.
Yeah, it was a Tin Man. It wasn't a gold or And what it was, I think it was 2 mile swim. It was supposed to be a mile swim, but we swam 2. But I mean, that's
you would grease your joints.
yeah, like the Tin Man. But it was brutal, man. That's and you did it in a pool.
Like
I did it in a lake, actually.
Oh, I thought it said in the pool over here.
No.
You're saying what it equates to. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. I did it in I don't know where I did it, but that 3 mile, man, that's without stopping. That's like those people who swim across the channel, or there's some people go from Florida to
Cuba or whatever that
Bimini.
is.
Bimini.
Is that the closest place?
I don't know. It's miles and miles, so. That's wild. We had one lifeguard in here. He did what did he do? A paddleboard in Hawaii. How far did he go? Like 30 miles or something?
He did something ridiculous. The race to Bimini, I think it was called.
Yeah, I don't know where it was.
It was something crazy.
So how much did you raise as far as money goes?
I've done it actually 4 times. So the first time we did it, I think we did in 2009, probably like around $3,000, and then I did it the following year. Someone actually found me on Google. He's I think he's now in his 70s now, maybe a little older than that. And then he wanted to come up for the race, and one of my friends wanted to partake in it. So the following year we did about we did $4,000 and did it one other time. And then my last time I did it was in 2016. The reason why I did in 2016 is my mom had breast cancer that year, and we wanted to do something about it. And I thought about it. It was next day happened to be one of the nicest days of the year. So I called Rich and I said, "Hey, do you mind getting a boat out there so I can be escorted across the lake? Because you don't want somebody swimming by yourself in the middle of Lake Mohawk." So you have to have an escort out there, basically a boat traffic coordinator. So just to make sure that when someone's swimming that you're in a safe area. So I ended up swimming the entire lake. It was probably one of my fastest times I did it. And as I said before, my mom had breast cancer, so I decided to swim the lake doing breaststroke in dedication for breast cancer awareness. And I think we did it. That one took me a while. I think I got lost actually. So I think it was like 2 hours, like 10 minutes later. So I ended up finishing the lake, and it was just a rewarding thing. My mom is totally fine. I actually totally forgot that my mom had breast cancer a few years ago. It's just something we just don't talk about. She's 100% healthy as someone at her age can be. I think I made her just sound old. So, Mom, if you're listening, just pretend I didn't say that.
That's great. Well,
Yeah, man. My mom had ovarian cancer a couple years ago, and she's totally fine now. And it's like the best feeling in the world, isn't it? Like getting through that.
Yeah.
Like, just like, oh, I remember she called me up. She's like, I'm gonna be okay. Blah blah. I just like completely broke down. It was like the most emotional moment of my life here. That was the best news I've ever heard in my life. So I'm really happy to hear that she's all right, man.
And it's just like the community. When people found out about it, it wasn't empathy. They were saying, what can we do to help you? Do you guys want meals? Or just like a simple 5-minute phone call. Like all of a sudden, no one calls you for a while. Then all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, people are checking in on you. How are you doing? Do you need anything? Do you need someone to talk to? Do you want me to leave you alone? What can we do? It was just, and when you live in a small town like I do, just about everyone knows who you are. And when people found out that my mom had breast cancer, it was just like it was kind of like a mini homecoming. Everyone was reaching out to her. It's just when you go through like a terrible experience like that, and it just shows like how great people can really be.
Yeah, I remember like so many and people you thought you wouldn't hear from and wouldn't reach out and wouldn't offer their help. And
Right.
it's when people, I think, offer to do something that you didn't even know you needed is when it's the most special. Like,
Yeah.
I remember just showing up and there was just trays of food at our house because we had just no time to cook,
Right.
and stuff like that. Yeah. So
Now, that's one thing. That's one thing. You should just bring that up because that's one thing that's very unique about the United States. Out of all the places in the world, we have the most charitable people. We give the most money to charity than anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. I mean, it doesn't happen. I mean, we're so used to it here. Like we have down here, we have a swim. We're the seaside, the polar bear plunge. They I think made $2 million. There's like there'll be a run for like Novo Nordisk, the drug company. They'll do a run on a weekend. They'll bring in a couple $100,000. The Juvenile Diabetes Association. I've been to that thing. They'll have they usually used to rent out Giant Stadium up here, and it would be like a tent in the middle. And they would have the what do you call it? The silent auction. But then at the end, they would start. People would say, "Okay, we're gonna start the bidding. You could donate." And it starts like $100,000, and somebody will raise the flag. And that's one guy 100, another guy 100. Then it goes down to 75,000. Like I'm sitting there going, "Whoa!" I mean, so we're the most charitable country, and that's good. It makes you feel good, but that's part of our DNA. And I think that's American, apple pie and charity. So that's a good thing. And I'm glad for your mom. God bless her. And my mom died when she was 90 years old. So, I was very close to my dad and my mom, and they had great lives. And so I'm, you always can tell the character of somebody when, what is their honor thy mother and their father, It's good. So anyway, that's my little 2 cents into the whole thing. So Sean, you want to take it back, Sean?
Yeah. Derek, a big part of your lifeguarding career was Labor Day 2021. There was a drowning that happened. And do you want to describe the events for us to start?
Yeah, Labor Day 2021 is one of those days where you kind of remember everything that happened leading up prior to that and everything that happened afterwards for that. That day was a really nice day as well. And I remember I got to my job. My commute at the time was probably like 6 minutes away, so very quick and get there really quickly. I remember I had an agenda that day. One of our floating docks at one of our beaches was floating on shore, so I was getting the chains out. I had them out there, so I was going to pull one of my lifeguards and we're say, "Hey, let's fix this before Beach 5 goes postal again." And then I got to my office, and the worst thing that happened prior to that, it was like around 11:30, and one of my guards said, "Hey, I'm going to be about 15 minutes late. I just got in a car accident." And me being at the age where I could probably have a kid, and my first question is, one, are you okay? Don't worry about coming in. We'll take care of it. And let me know how you're feeling later. And I figured that was going to be the worst part of my day. And about 5 minutes later, 3 police officers for Sparta police come down, wailing down our street, West Shore Trail, which is about a 25 mile per hour speed area. They were going about 50. They're going over speed humps. And it was just, I had no idea what was going on. At the same time, I was praying, I hope everybody's okay. About 30 seconds later, the head of Marine Services, Rich Carlson, calls and say, "Hey, we have a missing swimmer at West Shore Trail at a residential property. You need to get all your lifeguards over there and bring them over to the residence." So one thing that I forgot just about till now is it was the last day of the summer, so everyone's going back to school the very next day. Only two of my radios were working. So I had to call everyone and say, hey, we have a missing swimmer. I'm coming to your beaches and we're going to be picking everybody up. And my supervisor for that day, I think she was just turned 18. So all my lifeguards were between the ages of 16 and 18. I looked at her and said, hey, our life's about to change. And I said, you go down East Shore Trail, you pick up all the guards and bring them to the residential home. I took West Shore and I got everybody there. I think within a span of maybe like 7 minutes, I was
Derek,
at the house.
But before you continue, can you describe the layout of Lake Mohawk and how the beaches are arranged with the guards? Are they scattered? Is there like one main swimming beach? What does that look like on a regular day?
Oh, perfect. That's a good thing to ask for people who don't know. So we have about 11 different beaches. As I said earlier, Lake Mohawk is the largest man-made lake in the state of New Jersey. So we have 11 different beaches. On the East Shore Trail area, we have beach 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then on West Shore, we have Sleepy Lagoon, Happy Valley, Alpine Pool.
Is there a more popular beach, they're all populated? How does it go?
Our busiest beaches are at Beach 6, Alpine, and Upper. They're 3-guarded beach, and most of the other beaches are 2-guarded beach. Towards the end of the summer, as you guys are well aware of with scheduling, people go back to school, so we had to close certain beaches. So we had the busier beaches open, and then the supervisors were there because it's a private area, so we had to check the wristbands, make sure everyone there is a member, and then go on to our beaches. So we pulled up some of the guards, and just about we got everybody. I forgot one beach. It happens. So we got everybody there. The police officers were already in the water. And then we had our dive masks with us, masks and fins. And one thing that I always told everybody prior is I want my guards to be bored at their job. My thing is, the reason why I say that is every day where nothing happens is we're one day closer to something happening. So that day happened on Labor Day of 2021. So the guy, what happened was he was 80 years old. He either had a double knee replacement or a double hip surgery within a few months. He never swam. He was on his dock. He was just got done boating, so he's bringing his boat up. I think it was supposed to rain the next day, if I'm not mistaken. And he fell in the water. He lost his balance, and he couldn't swim. His wife saw everything that happened, so she turned around and called 911. She didn't have her phone with her, so she went in the house. By the time that she came back and to look for the guy, he was underwater. So she called 911, and we were there very quickly. As I said before, I think I was there within 7 minutes of the call. So it was right at the beginning of the day, right around 12 o'clock. I had everybody in the water. My group arrived first because I was a little bit closer. So we started doing the deep water exercises where deep water search. We were able to go down. Everyone had their masks and fins. And what
does the deep water search look like for a lake? What is
all right. So what we do is we line up with arm's length. We stretch out just to make sure we're able to cover the ground. And we did a couple of loops, and we said, all right, we're going to go again. Everyone catch their breath because I think we were diving like maybe about 10 feet of water. When you're in murky water, it's kind of hard to calculate exactly where you were. And then the other guards showed up. They were doing shallow water searches. The way that we found the guy, and another thing I forgot to talk about is State Police dive team was actually coming to help us out as well. I think they're based in Parsippany, so they're getting shuttled over there as well. I think they're coming via helicopter. They had a landing spot, so they were going to come help us out. But the reason why we found the guy so quickly, we found him within 30 minutes. What happened was one of our Marine Patrol officers has a fishing boat, and you guys know what a fish finder is?
Yeah.
I know one of you guys just talked about being a fisherman.
It's a sonar.
So when you look at a fish finder or a sonar, you see a long black line. We found out where the guy was, and I was called over. Rich Carlson, who's the head of Marine Services, all of a sudden did, Derek, come over here. I don't know if you can see me, basically pointing right down. And I froze for a second. I've never frozen in my life, and I can picture exactly what I was looking at. I was scared at first, and then he went down and got the guy. We came up, and we brought him to shore. It was scary. I won't lie.
I bet it's scary. It's a totally human reaction.
He was underwater for about 30 minutes. What's that?
If you don't mind me asking real quick, how deep was the lake or where he was submerged?
He drowned in 7 feet of water. So our guards helped us out because it was a very rocky area. One thing that I did, because I was in mask and fins, I knew that one of my guards didn't have his fins with him, so it was easier to bring it over to them, bring him over to a shore. We had the paramedics there, we had the police there as well. So we basically brought him to shore and pulled him out of the water there. He was deceased. What happens after drowning, something that doesn't talk about is losing someone is horrible for the family as well. But one thing that sometimes doesn't get talked about as well is the people who found the individual, the people that were there for the rescuers. So as I said before, we're talking about 16, 17, 18-year-olds. So we had a debriefing there that says, I will close down all the beaches right now if you want to, or you can go back to your beaches. I'll drive you back. And if you guys start changing your mind, call me. I will totally understand. I'll make the call, talk to the general manager. We'll do whatever you guys want. And at first they're saying, all right, we're going to go back to the beaches. That lasted for about 25 minutes. I started getting phone calls saying, hey, we can't operate. We're scared of people going in the water. So I called the general manager. He was there at the drowning as well, and it says, hey, we can't operate. So what we ended up doing is, as I said before, Lake Mohawk is a great community. There's so many wonderful people in that area. Very close friends with people who still live there. And one of our friends, actually one of the people on Marine Patrol, she's now getting her doctorate at Boston College, if I'm not mistaken. So she's psychology. So she was there to go over for the trauma, just to talk to the kids. So what we ended up doing is, once all the guards got to our office, they were obligated to call the parents, let them know what happened, and that where they are as well, in case they want to get picked up later. So we had a debriefing session. And another thing I've said Rich Carlson a couple times as well is, he is a retired police officer for Leonia. I think he retired as a lieutenant. So he's gone through a lot of these calls. He's gone through a lot of the trainings. So he led the training for us. And then the person who was on Marine Patrol, she talked to us as well, just to say, this is what you're going to be feeling if you're not feeling it right now. Parents were picking up the kids towards the end. And we gave them a piece of paper for our human resources where we're going to pay for the counseling. However, when you're talking to 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, you give them a piece of paper, what do? They lose it. Yep. So 2 days later, we're starting to get more phone calls saying, hey, you guys gave us something, but we lost our son or daughter lost a piece of paper. What can you do for us? So I figured, if not just one person. So we got all the parents whose kids were there that day. We had a parent meeting. We had our general manager. We had our controller who was in charge of HR, myself, and Rich Carlson, head of Marine Services, just to explain everything that went on that day.
But Derek, before we talk about the parent meeting, were you transporting the kids to and from the beaches after the incident? And what were they like? Like, were they confused? Did you see that they were scared? How did you feel, and what did you see about that situation?
I haven't really thought about that, but because I have a Ford Escape, so I think I had 5 people in my car, and it was more kind of, it was a very quiet ride, and then people were slowly starting to start talking about it, and I think most of those people probably never witnessed a fatality like that ever, and hopefully it'll be the last as well. But then I said, hey, if you guys change, let me know what's going on. And then one of the guards called and said, hey, I can't do this. He was in the bathroom at the Porta-John, and he's talking to his mom, say, hey, I can't function. So I wanted to talk to him.
Imagine in that moment he felt very scared, but that's a very brave thing to be able to tell you that he was afraid, that he was sad and scared.
Oh, absolutely. So he started the chain reaction as well, and then pretty much people find out very quickly when you're in a small town what happened. So I was getting messages, and personally, when something like that happens, I want to be left alone. But in my position as a supervisor, I can't be. So I was responding to the people that I could. Then I made a decision to close the beaches. Just about all the beaches were pretty good about it. One beach was not very happy about it. They're saying, how dare you close the beaches? We have a party going on at one of the beaches. I'm going to try my best not to let the name of the lake say it, just in case they're listening. But I talked to the general manager and said, hey, this beach did not react very well. They had a party going on that day and said, "Oh, I heard you had a drowning and you're closing all the beaches now. There's a party here. You want another one?" I wish I was lying when I said that, but I remember figuring out who the phone number was, blocked the number, went on social media, blocked their number. I didn't want to talk to those people ever again.
Mhm.
And then I told the general manager, "Hey, expect a phone call from these people as well." But I decided to be a better man that day, and I actually went to that beach afterwards, and I sat in the lifeguard stand. One of my guards had to be home that day. She heard about it, and she said, "Hey, do you need help with anything?" So I said, "Hey, do you mind going to?" I almost said the name of the beach just now. I said, "Hey, go over there. I'm going to be there for a little bit as well." And I told that person, "Whatever you do, your other responsibility besides washing water, make sure I do not get off the stand." I was livid that.
Oh no.
Oh, I think we just lost him. Derek, if you're still connected, we definitely just lost connection with you. That is absolutely tragic.
I had a good question lined up too.
I'll just have him call.
Yeah,
back.
whenever you're ready, can we call him?
So what's while you're doing that.
I don't think I can send him a quick email.
So what's interesting about what he's saying is when people see tragedy, we've had drownings in LBI. We had in Seaside. We have beach after hours. Like I think we had, I don't know how many we had.
There we go.
What are you saying, Cash?
Oh, I mean, I was going to make a comment. Let's get him back on. Let him finish. Did you get him back or no? Hey, we
There
lost
you
him.
Hello,
are.
Derek.
Hey.
Sorry, my computer crashed.
That's all right.
Hey, that was a quick response.
Listen.
Time.
While we had a break, and I just want to throw a couple things because I wanted to ask you when you initially said that the police came down, and then when you got to the area, they were in the water. So were they the rescue? They have a marine rescue squad because we have fire company, but they don't work when we work. They're after hours. But so. Well, do you guys piggyback with the police just to get an understanding of the environment there? Like, what's their role?
Were the police did they just happen to be the closest people around at the time?
They take their skivvies off. I mean, what do they do? Like, do they have,
Yeah, so what happened was we had 3 police cars there, and 2 of them were actually in the water, and one of them was the sergeant. So when you do like incident command, the person with the highest rank, they take over the scene. So we had we had the sergeant oversee, and they said, "All right, you 2 officers, they were in the water. One of them jumped on with everything with them. They had their belt on, so they had to take the belt off and put that on the dock as well."
Then we got there. They took their guns off, and it's interesting because in our area, the cops are not allowed because they've done that, and cops almost drowned, and also they put their guns on the beach, and somebody could steal them. But I was just wondering, so the cops are allowed to do that there, which is it's whatever the law. I mean, whatever they decide. I was just wondering that if they're trained or not, and that they could go in. So then the other thing so they were there, and then when this guy was getting off his boat and fell in the dock. Is that the deal? Is that what it was?
He was putting a cover on his boat because it was supposed to rain the very next day. So he did that. Yeah.
So he was next to the dock and he was putting it in. Yeah, I'm a
Correct.
Coast Guard. I'm a Coast Guard auxiliary. And the reason why I bring this up is that most of the drownings that are boat related are nobody has life preserver on. But I tell you what, you go to the dock, you take it off. I mean, I could see that. You never think in a million years to put it on when you're at the dock. I'm just thinking. Safety. I always look at an incident. As from a doctor, we always try to look at what's wrong and what can we do better. Even our beaches. We've had drownings. You talk about people being not sensitive. We'll have it. Last summer we had. There was 2 drownings, a mile up and down from us. Not in our beach, but a mile up and a mile down. They weren't protected beaches. This is in September, but we were lifeguarding, and we had rough water. And I tell people, listen, you can't swim. It's very dangerous today. And they're like, well, no, I don't think it is. I said, well, somebody just drowned 2 days ago up there, and somebody drowned over there. They could care less, right? I'm telling you, people don't. They're like, well, I'm not going to drown, and you can't even talk to them. But it's interesting. It's you get everybody responds to it differently. And saying about about people die. When I first started my training, and I was in the hospital. The people die coming in dead on arrival or whatever. It affects you, especially in the beginning. I'm different now. I've been 30 years of seeing this stuff. But when a young child, and you got to remember that, somebody who's 16, 17, 18, or somebody who has never seen it, you can't function. And I appreciate where you're coming from. I've seen it where people are just totally, and it could affect them tremendously. I think it's really good that we're on top of that and getting these kids treatment. So really, that's what they need. What is it? A post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Yeah.
It could take off on you, on some of these people. One other point, I just want to make a point that there was just this girl. It was a big thing in Belgium, and I know this is getting a little off, but this girl was 14 years old. There was a bombing in the Belgium airport, somewhere there. Maybe it was in Germany. And she witnessed it. 14 years old, never had any treatment. It lingered on. She got to the point where she was so bad she couldn't function, and actually, she ended her life. So it's just from the bomb didn't even go off near. It was.
You are getting a little off now.
I know. All right, goodbye,
Derek. Derek, I did want to before we move on, and talk about the country clubs.
The parent meeting,
or the parent, and the questionable response in terms of the staffing of the lifeguards at those beaches. You as a leader, I know you mentioned briefly that in these types of situations, you want to be left alone. How difficult was it for you to put that aside and almost put on a brave face to be there for these young kids, and also how vulnerable were you with them? How much did you let them into the fact that it was also affecting you?
Yeah, as I said before, I'm at the age where I can be a parent, and I treat some of my staff as if they are my kids. Some of them I've known since they were babies, and the fact that some of them are going to college this year is making me turn gray and losing my hair just thinking about it. But when that happened, I put my persona away, and they were my main responsibility as a leader. I want to make sure they're taken care of. So what we ended up doing is school started the very next day. That's usually what happens after Labor Day. So my responsibility was to notify all the guidance departments for these kids to go to school: Sparta, Pope John, Lenby Valley, Morris Catholic, and Morristown Beard High School in Morristown. There might have been one other. So we called them to let them know what's going on, just in case these kids start getting the symptoms, so they're well aware of what's going on. And the kids were having nightmares as well. I have nightmares to this very day, actually, of that day. And the problem with me is I have the director's cut, so everything that happened that day is still in here. So I wanted to make sure that my guards got counseling first. We have a paychecks provider who does our HR. So after 2 counseling sessions, and they say that Sean Oliver can no longer, we've done the best that we can with him, and he needs more support, that we would still pay for the kids' counseling afterwards. So I never got counseling, and that was a fault on my part. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure that everyone else was taken care of first. So I was taking my life jacket off so someone else can be saved. So I wanted to make sure that the guards were taken care of. Then my dumb mistake was I never got the counseling that it's probably going to live with me for a long time, if not forever. It's one of those things you remember, and that's what happened. But at the same time, just about everybody was so good to us. Very next day, I was getting phone calls saying, "Hey, I heard what happened. Are you okay?" Just like what happened with my mom when she had breast cancer. We went through a heroic event, and now everyone's reaching out saying, "Hey, this happened to me. If you need someone to talk to, if you don't want to talk to somebody at work, you have my number."
Yeah, man, I really feel that. And I think going back to what you said about people forgetting what we as first responders have to deal with emotionally, I think we ourselves forget it. I know I've been involved in really stressful situations off the beach, and me personally, as the lifeguard and the lifeguard in me, when stuff like that happens, even though I'm involved, my first instinct is to go, is everyone okay? And make sure they're okay before I think of myself. So that's, yeah, that's really cool that you handled it that way. And I hope that you do find a way to come to terms with it, because there's stuff that's really hard to come to terms with,
Yeah, I'm definitely getting better about it. As I said before, I'm getting married in September. My fiance knows everything about that day as well, so it wasn't a surprise. And it's definitely, I have gotten better. I can easily say that. but it takes time. It's not like you say, all right, it's going to go away in 2 days. It doesn't really do that. But as I said before, we did everything right that day. There was no Monday morning quarterbacks, should have done this, should have done that. We did it to the book. And as I said before, I couldn't be more proud of my staff. I was worried about them coming back the very next year, but I happened to have the largest retention rate that following year, and it was just a great group of kids. I can't even call them kids anymore because they became adults that day.
Derek, so you were concerned that the paper and everything wasn't enough. You had a parents meeting. Why did you feel like that? I mean, that was important, but like, what made you make the call that should happen? And how did their response to the situation? What was that like?
If one person got the material wrong, that means more than one were getting the material wrong. So we wanted to talk to the parents and say, this is exactly what happened. This is the resources that we have. We give them extra pieces of paper as well. So we were able to say, these are the resources that we have for your son or daughter. So they knew. So just in case, because the parents live with their kids. So if they're starting to see these symptoms later on, they say, oh, okay, this is what they told us and this is what's happening now. So it was an open door for them to have any questions that they may have, why we did certain things, why it was just it was like a debriefing session for them as well. Closure.
Was this a plan that you already had in place in the event of something like this happening?
Correct. So we have an emergency action plan, and in the event that there was an incident like that to happen, and we're just very special, as I said before, we are trained so well for just about everything. And as I said before, when that day happened, everything operated like clockwork. There was no stalling. We knew exactly what to do, and then afterwards, like we knew what was going to happen. But there's a difference between reading about it than being involved in it. So we really learned more about. I think everyone got a higher appreciation as to what lifeguards really do. We're not just there being on the beach. We're there to make sure that when you go in the water, we want to make sure you come out safely.
So Derek, there was a staffing situation that happened the following year. Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
Did they pull all of the lifeguard stands after this?
So around that time is our facility is in financial debt. We're still in debt, but they wanted to trim the budget a little bit. So they were trying to figure out ways how to eliminate staffing. Some of the beaches were not staffed 2 days a week. And then, so say, for example, usually our beaches are open every day from whenever Sparta High School graduates to Labor Day, 7 days a week from 12 o'clock in the afternoon to 6 at night. So they were trying to figure out ways how to trim. I sat in on a meeting. Unfortunately, I was pulled in not really knowing what the meeting was going to be about. And I said, all right, these beaches have not a lot of attendance. But what happened was, as you guys are well aware of, when do most of the rescues happen? Do they happen at the beginning of the season or after the season? The answer is,
the end.
I would say at the beginning, though, because the reason why is more people, like, say, for example, you don't swim year round in New Jersey unless you're swimming at a YMCA doing swim team. So when people, sometimes their last time they're in the water is around Labor Day of the year prior, and they're not in the water until May or June. So that's a long time of not being in the water practicing. So people swim out to the dock saying, oh, I did it last year. And then all of a sudden they come out there and they realize that they're in trouble. So most of our rescues, at least from a lake perspective, I'm talking from a lake, there's a difference between lake and oceans, but most of our rescues happen at the beginning of the year. So on, what was that day? It was the 4th of July weekend. We had 10 rescues on that weekend. That's huge. So I called the general manager. I talked to some of the board members and I said, hey, just letting you know, we had 10 rescues this weekend. And then I got a phone call. I was actually off. Tuesdays are the best day of the week for me. I don't work on Tuesdays. So I got a phone call saying, hey, we're going up to full staff. We're going to take it as a loss. So please go back to full swing. So we resumed full time. And then towards the end of the year, I was, as I said before, I was getting ready to propose to my fiance. I got engaged on, that's bad. I got engaged in November. I think it was in November. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the next day, I go into a meeting and it says, "Hey, I just want to let you know this isn't your fault, but we're in a lot of financial difficulties right now, and due to that, is we have to let you go. This isn't a performance review, but it is just because, and we would like to have you back. But as I said before, I got engaged the day prior, so I couldn't sit around and waiting. So I just said, what I'll do is I'm gone. I'm not coming back." So I wanted to be professional about it, and I wrote a how to do my job manual because everything is in my head of what to do. So if something were to happen to me, they wouldn't know how to do my job. So I put together a manual of how to do everything so that my successor knows what they're doing. And then my last day, I think, was December of this past year, so 2022. And then it's just been very difficult, actually. Are still in a little trouble with the country club financially. I'm gonna try to stay as positive as I can about it. I'm not gonna do like one of those work shoots on employment because I still have a lot of respect for some of the people that are working there as well. And our general manager is leaving. He's gonna probably be gone relatively soon. As soon as they hire a new general manager, he resigned after people were putting the blame on him. I don't think it was all of his fault. It was just no, just a off balance that was never corrected.
Derek, if you're okay with saying or talking about this, would you say it's just something along the lines of just trying to avoid the liability and just having the signage saying lifeguards, no lifeguards on duty, swim at your own risk is a cheaper alternative than having a staff? Or why
I don't like that.
Yeah, me either. But do you think is that why they made the decision?
They were initially going to eliminate guards the entire year, but they had a vote this past Monday where they're bringing the budget that I put together, and I said, "All right, this is what I need to successfully operate at the lake." I think my budget, I think my numbers was, I looked at it last night because I wanted to pretend to know what I was talking about today. It was my budget was $211,000 and some odd dollars, and that's for the certifications through the Red Cross. That is getting all of our water samples. That is any first aid equipment that we need. The AED batteries. Last year, I had to replace 2 of those. Those things are expensive. They're like $500 a pop for a battery. So,
So
it would be impossible to go over that budget. But I put together so like say for example, like a styrofoam cup.
Yes.
We're gonna do like an accounting 101 intro course. So when you do a styrofoam cup, you poke a little hole in the water in the bottom. Water's going to come out of it. So when you get money in there, it's slowly going to pour out. So that's how I was doing the budget, and I didn't want to poke all holes. And by the moment we get money, it's going to disappear. So I put together a safely budget. So this is how it's going to work. They're not going to go over my budget. It would be almost impossible to do it, but it is the worst case scenario for them. So they're going to have a successor, and I'm trying to stay out of it as best as I can. I don't want to know, but at the same time, people are asking me, "Hey, what's going on?" Hey, what's going on is I'm working for a different organization, and I wish them the very best.
can I make a comment here because there's a couple things here. I read maybe about 6 months ago a bunch of beaches in New York State, and what they did is they got rid of all the lifeguards, and they had a off-site, fire department rescue team ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they would put all the signs up, swim at your own risk, and they would be, instead of, they would be retroactive instead of proactive. Mm-hmm. And that's around. People are pushing that, and I'm very sure these towns are, hearing it. I think, personally, they have more liability that way because, or not to say maybe not more liability, but you're going to, time you get there, they're dead. I mean, unfortunately, that's the situation. So I think that's a terrible way to go. These people, what'll happen is in a lot of these towns, they're going to get lawsuits. They think they're going to be protected, but then you'll bring in people like me, and I'll say, with a lifeguard on duty, it's 1 in a million that somebody drowns. Without a lifeguard, it's 1 in 100,000. So right. That's one thing I wanted to put out, and it's sad because we see that now, Derek, in our area. New Jersey has, I don't know if you notice, you got to pay overtime for lifeguards over 40 hours. Well, a lot of these towns don't want to pay don't want to pay that. And so you used to have lifeguards who were working 60 hours a week, and they were getting straight pay. Now they're not going to be able to get the straight pay, or they have to be time and a half, and they're not going to get it. So now you're going to have to get more lifeguards. It would be difficult. So there's going to be a lot of beaches that are being stretched. So that's an interesting. I just want to go back for one thing, because you mentioned it, and this is a medical thing, and this is for people who are listening, and this has a lot to do with the lake. So what is the temperature of the lake in the beginning of the season and the end of the season? What's your
Labor Day is when the drowning occurs.
Yeah. So what was the temperature of the lake at that point?
It's actually interesting that you brought that up, because I don't know if you follow the United States Coast Guard on Facebook, but yesterday they came out.
He probably does.
Perfect.
I'm a Coast Guard auxiliary, so
Okay.
I'll not only read it. Again, so we're gonna say.
So they posted a video yesterday, because a few days ago we were in like 80-degree weather, and it's I almost said mid-March, mid-April. So they went in the water. They showed someone wearing a life preserver, and then he had someone in a full swim outfit, and they're in the water for about 5 minutes. And the water there at that time is 45 degrees. And afterwards, they get out of the water and they do certain tests. So the first test was to get your phone and do like a math equation. Like, for example, I think they did go to your phone and type in 7 times 33, get the answer. The person who had a swim outfit on was able to get it very quickly, just like how you and I would right now. Then the other person tried to get in their phone, and they're trying to get they're shaking. They can't get everything right. And it took them about 30 seconds to do such a simple equation. And then the very next step that they did was they did a knot game, where they had to untie the knot. The one guy did it really quickly. The other guy probably did it in about 2 minutes. So that time of year, this time of year, it's really cold water.
What was in Labor Day? Was it get to 70, 80?
Yeah, it was warm water that day. It was really nice.
The reason why I'm bringing it up is there's another reason. First of all, what you're talking about, where they did tests and everything. Actually, there's a lot of those things. They actually put people in 30 to 32 degree water, 40 degree water. In about 50 degree water, you have about maybe 15 minutes before you start to not only get real weak, but get mentally disorientated. When you talk about the seasons and everything, early when you ask the question, when do we have more drownings? You got to understand, we start Memorial Weekend. We actually start, in middle of May. And then our water could be right now is probably, in the 40s, maybe 50s. So you don't get a lot of people going in the water. It's cold, man. It's cold. When it's 52, it's a lot of people don't go in. By the end of the year in September, our water is 70 degrees, and a lot of people go on. And the problem is, but we do have drownings in the beginning and the end because there's no lifeguards, and we get the crowds come down. Very few people drown where there's lifeguards on duty. So our drownings are either the beaches leave. Not every beach has lifeguards at the same time for staffing issues, and or after hours. And we have a whole set of things after hours. There's cops on the beach and things like that. Well, I wanted to ask you about the reason why I'm asking about the temperature of the water. And I don't want to bring you back to bad memories, but when this individual, but this is important because people listen to this. When that individual was brought out of the water, you guys are saying it's about 30 minutes. Did they just pronounce him, or did they do CPR on him?
Pronounced.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, but let me make my point, because this is something that people should understand. And he's 80 years old too, and the pound low in water. But when you get somebody who's in a lake, especially a frozen lake or a cold lake, or even in a cold ocean, we would do CPR on them, and because there is a lot of evidence, there are that people will come back. I doubt him and the temperature of the water, but the water is like when it's like breakthrough ice and it's 30 degrees. There's people who've been out for 20 minutes underneath the water. They're usually young kids.
So wait, you're saying colder water can be better for CPR?
No, colder water, what happens is...
Well, it slows down your
metabolism.
Heart rate,
It slows down your metabolism. It's like hibernation.
Yeah.
And, the thing that kills you, obviously you stop breathing, but your brain, the blood does not go to your brain. You don't get any oxygen. What happens when you're in that cold environment, your brain doesn't die as quick because it's cold.
It needs less oxygen.
Right, it needs less oxygen. And so if I had somebody in June who was submerged and we got him quickly, that's why it's so important to get somebody quickly. We get him out and we would do CPR if the water was that cold, 50 degrees. It's the lakes. I don't know if anybody ever survived 50. And I mean, if you get him out in 2-3 minutes, there'd be something different. My point is, though, I think it's something that's from an educational standpoint, people should realize. I mean, if you have a cold lake, somebody's right now in that lake, and they go in, they're drunk, whatever, and they dive in, and they're a 22-year-old kid. Well, if you could get him in maybe 5-10 minutes. And then I would CPR him. I'd bring him to the hospital. You might be able to get something out of that. So I just wanted to throw that out for from a medical standpoint. I don't know if you guys, did you ever hear that, Sean?
Yeah, that's fascinating. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I've seen it, and but it's cold. The other thing is with our beaches, like I said, and we're going to see some acute problems this year because the towns don't want to pay the 40 over 40 hours. We're having hard time getting lifeguards, so it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, the staffing issue, Derek's everywhere. It's
everywhere. And the funny thing is that because you talk about your club, we have towns here that have properties on the beach that are $10 million, $7 million, and they're crying the blues about money. So I think it's disingenuous. I mean, I think there's other things going on. I think a lot of people. No.
Say it, Cash. Say
it. No. I don't want to be slandering anybody.
Put the camera on yourself before you say it.
Let's get the camera off those guys. But no, I think what it is that a lot of people believe that lifeguarding is just bullshit, that it's not necessary. It's probably like a necessary evil, and they don't want to deal with it. And then they talk to the lawyers, and a lot of these lawyers are like, you know what? If somebody drowns and you got a lifeguard, you got liability. Get rid of them. Put signs up. Swim at your own risk. And and that might be and you have the fire company come there to try to clean up the mess. Maybe it is less liability, but there's a bigger thing here. It's called morality.
Yeah.
It's called it's saving lives. I don't give a crap about the money. I mean what I'm saying. And when I hear these lawyers, because I dealt with this, Derek, on that level, talking to the lawyers and all the years I've been working on different beaches. And I tell them, I say, okay, but can you sleep at night? If a 15-year-old girl or boy drowns and you could have had lifeguards there and you could have stopped it, So anyway, I get off my soapbox. But I feel for you, and you just can't, you could just, I wouldn't give up, and I would keep on telling these people, that the better, you're way better off having lifeguards. I mean, I think we would all agree on that, right? So
Derek, was there litigation that you had to deal with this incident, or it's fortunate?
He fell off the dock. It's his own dock, right? So
Yep. Yeah, and as I said before, we did everything to the book. I can't think of any mistakes that we did that day. And my biggest worry was at the time for this year when our budget wasn't approved until Monday, that I was scared that another Labor Day was going to happen at our lake. And I know so many people. That's a 2,700 home community, and I know about 80% of the people. And I'm just thinking, what's the probability of one of my friends being a victim, or their kids as well? I'm glad that the budget got resolved, and I'm glad who's coming back is going to come back, and I hope they do well. I'll be thinking about them, but at the same time, I have to move on too.
No, listen, you didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I wasn't there, but the reality is he was dead when you guys got there. Unfortunately,
right.
And that's something you have to realize, and you can't. And maybe it'll help you, going. I mean, there's accidents happen. I mean, the guy, who I wouldn't have put a life preserver on, coming out of the boat on my own dock. I mean, it's just accidents happen sometimes. Yeah. It's just God was calling him to home. So I mean, you have to look at it that way. And he's and I'm a Christian. He's in a better place as far as I'm concerned. And but you guys did a good response, but you can't let it eat you and stay inside. No. As far as the other people's reaction. The people do what they want to do. Nothing surprises me anymore.
You say that you guys did everything by the book, which is what people should expect out of any competent lifeguard organization. Would you mind touching on some of your training standards? What does like a day of training look like on the lake?
Okay, so we are obligated we get to the beaches 15 minutes early. Usually the younger guards get there because they get dropped off. They don't have a license yet. I think they're 17 when you can start driving. So they get up, they set the beaches up, and they're obligated to do at least 10, 15 minutes of PT, personal training, just getting out there. And then every once in a while, our Marine Patrol. One thing I should probably define, because I say it, but not everyone knows what it means. Marine Patrol is they are members of the lake, and they patrol the lake. So in the event that a boat breaks down or there's an emergency at the lake, they can probably get there quicker than I could getting in the car and driving there. So they have the radios, the same radios as us. They do a buoy drop, so they throw a buoy in the water, and the guard activates the emergency action plan. How does emergency action plan work? They blow the whistle. They point to where they're going. I'm pointing. I don't even know if the camera can see me, but they swim out there, and it's documented, and they are obligated to put that in the paper in our beach diary, because if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. So they're able to put everything on there. And one great thing actually that we learned from that day was we have changed our application phase as well. So what we did was we now have emergency contacts. So in the event that Ryan Sheridan or Bob Smith needs help and we need to get a hold of their parents, we now have emergency contact on our application. So we can get a hold of them saying, hey, your son's at Beach 5 and he got stung by a bee and he's allergic, and we are trying to get your son medical attention, just so they know. So that's how we were able to get in contact with everybody going forward. And it's all on a Google Docs as well. So all my supervisors know who to contact just in case I'm not there. So we did learn from tragedy.
Yeah, can I make another point? Because on this thing here, I wanted to throw this out too, because you talked about the fish finder, and
Yeah.
So I've used sonar on my boats, so I'm very, very aware of it, and it's a great tool. But when the Coast Guard now, when we have drownings around here, usually, after so many hours, we know it's a recovery. It goes from a rescue to a recovery, and they'll bring in the boat now and they got this thing. It's not only the sonar goes straight down. Now they have front directed sonar. Front scanning sonar. It goes out about 25 yards, believe it or not. Right. And so they could come close to the shore. They don't have to go into the waves, and they can actually see. And that's how they got that last body in Seaside Park. I forget if you guys remember. Last year. And nobody could find it. It's currents moving around and everything, and they brought in, the Coast Guard comes and they have the helicopters. But so sonar is a big thing now, and specifically the front pointing sonar, and I've used it. It's amazing. It's a really amazing technology. So I just want to throw it out to give you complete. You're talking about that. So
yeah,
interesting.
Derek, I want to end on at least a positive note. Can you tell me what I was doing some research? What the watermelon relays are?
That's sorry, I'm cracking up. So what we do towards the end of the season as just like a fun way to get the guards bonded with each other, because probably like 3 days later, some of them are gone to school and they're not going to see them again until next summer or over winter break. We do a lifeguard Olympic event. I wasn't prepared for this one, so kudos for this one. So we do one towards the end, because that's like the one that everyone comes for. It's kind of like the main event. It's the Super Bowl of the event. So we do like a greasy watermelon. We dip it in canola oil, and it's all greased up. It's in our refrigerator at the country club. We get a lot of weird looks saying, "What are you doing to this watermelon?" Like, oh, it's a lifeguard Olympics. So we have it greased for about 2 days. And then the day of the event, everybody's talking about it. Like, I wonder who's going to get it.
Do you think it absorbs the oil and like gets slippery for 2 days? Is that why you do that?
Yeah, we just let it rest. We have this thing called Google, so we kind of get recommendations off that, and we just let it go. And then we bring it up in like one of those cooking pans, because that thing's sliding all over the place. And when the guards are picking up, it's like fun. It's like your hands are bathed in butter. You can't hold anything still. So the kids are like wrestling with it. I think I have it somewhere on YouTube if I'm not mistaken.
That's how I found
it's like
it.
the match. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
So it's just so much fun watching. Some kids have gotten injured, like little falls, like little bruised knees, and kids get hurt. Spoiler alert. But it's a fun way to end summer. They're always talking about it, and when they come back saying, "Hey, when's the lifeguard Olympics?" So it's a good way to build camaraderie, and they look forward to it. They don't dread coming to work. They look forward to it because they know come August someone's getting that watermelon, and it's just a little fun way to debrief after a stressful few weeks.
Do you guys eat it afterwards? You cut it up and eat it?
Nope. We got Bill Capri.
That's good. You got to do stuff like that, and that's one thing. We do. Like when I'm on the beach, we'll have stuff on the radio. And the radios, our radios, we monitor the police. They monitor us, and the beach. So there's a lot of people listening to it, and it gets tense sometimes. There's stuff going on, and these guys know. I'll try to throw out a crack. Not to be stupid about it, but a little anecdotal thing, and it calms everybody down. It's it's good to do sometimes. All right. Let me ask you this: when your beach, just because it's an hour already, right? This one flew. This was a good show. Your beaches, how many people? First of all, how many lifeguards were in your complement? The year round, like your whole. How many you have? 30, 40 lifeguards? What?
10, 20?
10?
I would love to have 40. That would have been perfect.
What was your number?
Due to the lifeguard shortage that we've been experiencing, we probably last year was our lowest numbers. We probably had about 35.
That's still big.
With that,
that's good. That's not a bit.
We have so we'd like to have a little more, but do with what we can.
What was the pay? Average salary for lifeguards? What was the pay?
So this is why we lost everybody. Pay, because we are the largest operation in Sussex County. It's we can't do the high pay salaries at some of the lower, like the smaller lakes. Like some of the lakes were doing 20 an hour, and they're So we were losing just for that. But the way that we were able to, I'll answer the question in a second. The way that we were able to keep people is that we were able to provide hours. Everyone could work 30 to 36 hours a week. We're getting with minimum wage. I think it's $15 an hour now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, seasonal, but we're grandfathered in, but it's close.
So I think the starting pay last year, I think it was trying to think of our rookie guards, and when I was doing the paperwork, I want to say the starting wage last year was like $13.50 for just starting out, and then it depends on your certifications as well. Lifeguard management, we have a lot of people with that. 2 of our guards now are EMT, so they were able to get a raise from that. They have what else did they have? Incident command certification. That's offered through, I believe, if it's not the Coast Guard, it's somebody else, where they're able to take over it in the event of emergency. They know how to operate, and they have LGI, lifeguard instructor. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that they can get. So, and then every year they get experience. They get a pay raise from the year prior. And then another thing that we guys do, something you guys might want to talk about, is we do a lifeguard incentive. So in the event that someone works 300 or more hours in a season, they get a check for a quarter for every time they go over. So when you do 300 hours and you times that by 25 cents, that turns out to be $75. So they get $75 on the very last pay period of the year. It's usually like the last day in October or the very last week in September. And then going into next year, they also get a 25-cent raise going into the year prior. So when I put together my budget for this year, for whoever's succeeding me, and then I put down the starting pay to be $17.50 an hour because we were the lowest in the county. And I hope that they listen to me, but at the same time, I can't solve everything for them anymore.
Mm-hmm. No. We're up to starting $16 an hour, but we go higher. There's one beach here at Island Beach State Park, which is the state of New Jersey. They're paying $18.50 an hour. But the minimum wage right now, the seasonal lifeguards are a little bit off. I think the minimum wage now for everybody is $14. I think next year
we lost Eric again.
Oh, we did. Oh, damn it.
Damn.
Snap.
See if he comes back.
Yeah.
So
what was the wage, Cash?
Well, here he is. We have technical difficulty. We lost him. We got him here. Here you go. Are you back with us?
Yes. Can I say how much I dislike Optimum Internet?
Yeah. So the point I was saying is that in New Jersey, the lifeguards are offset a little bit, or seasonal, I should say. You don't have to pay 14. I think maybe right now you got to pay 13. But you make a good point. You got to compete against McDonald's, Burger King, and wherever else, and it's a problem. But so you have that crowd. So how many? So I'm just trying to get a feel. So you got. I don't know how many beaches. You sound like you have a lot. But what kind of crowds you get? I mean, do you get like thousands of people on some of your beaches, or just like
no?
No, it's a minimum. It's kind of like low key, like what?
Like
say
some of the
what's biggest
busiest
beach?
beaches, uh, based on the numbers from last year, I know that Beach 6 was our busiest beach last year. Sometimes it's Upper, sometimes it's Beach 4, but Beach 6 has usually been pretty stagnant and be number one. So I would say regularly, like on weekends, because everyone's home for the weekends. Most people are they're off on weekends. I'm not, but for them, sometimes like on our daily counts, you're looking at like 155 at one point, like 155, 100 to 70 on a weekend per
Okay.
hour.
Okay. Yeah. And do you have a lot? You guys have a lot of medical issues, or no? Not too much. Like, or is it mostly?
It's most thankfully a lot of it is as I said before, we're up in the woods, so we have a lot of bees in our area. So a lot of people are getting stung by bees. One of my
Okay.
guards actually did the Heimlich maneuver last year on somebody as well, and then he was actually kind of mad because his mom forgot to bring him lunch. So the lady's like, "Hey, I'll buy you whatever you want. You just did the Heimlich maneuver on me."
What
So it's
about
like, I'm not having what you just coughed up, but
and with the water? Is there? I mean, is there any? You don't get jellyfish there, like. And I mean, is there
no,
any
it's
anything?
all
Nothing.
like
So there's nothing there that could bite anybody, or nothing, no
fish.
dangers there. Fish. Well,
Yeah.
no sharks or.
I hope not. I know years ago,
Yeah.
because you might have heard about the
Yeah.
Lake of Pacon, which is probably about like all 4 minutes from where I live now. They had the scare like there was an anaconda in the lake. It was just a big myth. So if
And,
when you get bored later on at 10 o'clock at night, type in Lake of Pacon anaconda, and you're just gonna totally
yeah.
facepalm when you say, "Wow, people really believe that." I mean, if it's on the internet, it has to be true.
People don't surprise us anymore.
No, so the other thing too is, do you guys have do you have like paddle boards, like the big red ones for the lake?
So what we use is we use the ocean kayaks.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay, and so no boards. You use the ocean kayaks. You like that? Why one? Why do you go with that? I'm not criticizing. I'm just asking. I'm learning. I want to know, like, is it better, you think, or easier to use, or just
Yeah.
cheaper? Or like, what was the reason why you got those as opposed to the red boards?
We use the ocean kayaks for a few things. For example, if there's someone out on the lake, we have a lot. It's a boating lake, so a lot of people are going tubing or skiing. If there is someone that flips over on the canoe on their not canoe, if they flip over off their tube, they can get out there and check in, make sure they're okay. If they're like as I said before in Marine Patrol, when they do the buoy drops, they have the option of using the kayak to get out there quicker. You can get out there on a kayak a lot quicker than you can swimming.
Or a
So
board,
we've
or a board.
tested that too as well. So we have the
Okay.
whiteboards out there too. So it's really depends on what beach they have. Are they at every beach? No, but they're at the busier beaches, so they're able to get out there quicker.
And do you guys have like the red cans, and then like our beach, we have two guys, two people on the lifeguard stand. Say one has a loose can, the red can, and then the person next to him has a red can that's attached to a rope. So they'll both go out, and because we got currents and all of that, and
Right.
waves breaking down and everything, and so the loose can will go out, they'll get the victim or two, and then another can goes out. And obviously, we'll put more of lifeguards if there's more people in the water, but and then we pull them in. Do you guys do that rope, or you just send one lifeguards out with a red can? Like maybe do they use fins? Like what's your mechanics of making a rescue if you need to get somebody?
Yeah. So we are waterfront lifeguards. So we have the rescue tubes. It's the long rescue tube.
Right,
Go
right.
online.
Right.
And then they also, since we're waterfront, we're obligated to give them mask and fins. They get like a dive bag at the beginning of the season. And when we do the lifeguard orientation, we give them their dive bag. We give them their shirt as well. And say, all right, now that you have this at the end, your very last day, whether it's Labor Day or if they go back to college, August 15th, they're obligated to turn in the dive bag with their mask and fins with them as well. So they take care of their equipment. They bring it back at their very last day of the season. They get a whistle with them as well. I can't remember what else goes in there.
Do you
Yeah, I
have
think
two?
that's
Do you have two lifeguards on each stand, or just one lifeguard on each stand?
depends on the beach. As beach is beach 6, Alpine and Upper. Those are
Right.
relatively our busiest and bigger beaches as well. So they get 3. Every other beach has 2 other beaches or 2 other lifeguards, and then Tamarack and Sleepy Lagoon. That's a very small beach, so they get 1, and they are obligated to communicate on the radio half hour, just doing a radio check. Sleepy Lagoon to Beach 6. go ahead, radio check, just making sure that everything is okay. And then if there's a problem, they can communicate over the radio. Say, hey, I have something over here at Tamarack. I need a little assistance. And then I'm on the radio with driving in the car as well. And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I totally forgot what I was going to say.
The big beach that you have, how many lifeguard stands do you have there? You have regular like lifeguard stands, right? The wooden ones, yeah. So how many stands would you have on that beach? You know,
every beach has one.
Okay, so that's how it works. Okay.
Yep.
I gotcha. All right. Well, I was just asking because then you only need one lifeguard. If you have 2 lifeguard stands, you need 4 lifeguards. That's the state law, you know. So I was just asking how they work it over there. So all right, good. You know, I think it's educational. I mean, every beach is different, and you know, I just wondered how the lake works. We had a guy, what was it, Lake Huron? Scott, and he really, you know, they talked about different things. I just was interested in, you know, how you ran your beach and like how it's different because you know I think the lake is, if somebody's going down in the lake, they're going down. You know, our people, they get sucked out. They're not really drowning. They ain't getting back in. We know it before they know it, you know, and they're kind of just like, you know, swimming a little bit but going backwards, you know. But in the lake, man, they start going down. They go down if they're on a raft or, you know, like you said, a ring, and they go underneath, you know. Phew, man. So it could be bad. So what else? Anything? You know, I tell you, it flew by. It's an hour and 15 minutes. I mean, this was a great show. I learned.
Feels like I've known you guys.
yeah, no, it was great. I think that
we got a good chance to get to know each other before the show on account of.
Yeah, I'm sorry I was late. Anyway,
traffic.
So
on account of the traffic.
Traffic. Nah, it just was patience. You know, I get hammered with my patience. So unfortunately, that's just the way it is. What else we got to say, guys? We wanna pack it in. We're doing pretty well. What do you think?
I think that's it.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you coming on. It was a pleasure speaking to you. It was really good, and it was very exciting. You know, listen to everything. I hope that everything, you know, comes around for you. Good luck. You know, your mom and your wife.
Congratulations on your engagement.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, and Derek, you're welcome back anytime.
The door's open.
Hopefully next time we can talk about some of the fun stuff that goes on in the lake.
Yeah,
there's a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah. That's what we want to talk about next time. Yeah. Get real. Anyway, guys, well, listen. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Really, really do. And
Derek, if you remember the
stay out and stay alive.
All right,
man. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. All right. Bye-bye.